Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're making a dress. And this dress specifically comes from Butterick pattern B6826. I have a piece of hair on my mouth. That's gonna drive me crazy. This dress is basically a wrap dress, and it actually comes in two styles. There's a dress and there's a pant jumpsuit. So if you feel like the dress isn't really your style, jumpsuit could work well for you. Like, either way, it's a killer outfit. So before I ramble on, I do need to tell you the fabric. I made it out of a wine peach skin, which it's really thin, but I'm not quite sure if it's supposed to be thin. I'm not sure. I just know that I like the fabric and it's cool enough and thin enough that I can wear in Florida without like dying of like just heat problems. And it's really soft and it has a tiny bit of give to it, like a little bit of stretch, but not like a knit stretch. So, but yeah, you'll see it soon enough. So before I ramble on too much, let's go ahead and get started. Starting out with the front bodice piece, make the darts by matching the small dots right sides together. Stitch in a straight line from the point to the small dots, which it helps to draw a guide to keep you straight. Trim your dart to 5/8 of an inch. Then press it downwards and repeat this on the other side. At the top of skirt piece 2, sew the darts in the same way as the bust darts and press them towards the center. Across the hem of the skirt, you will be finishing it with a narrow hem. At the left edge, you will leave 3 inches not hemmed for later use. It should end up looking like this when you hem it. On piece 3, the overlay, you will make pleats by matching the 2 small dots to the big dots as so. I included a little bit of footage of what it should look like and the process. Make sure that the top edges are relatively even. Baste across the top of the pleats. I folded the picture and basted the pleats as well downwards into them to make it kind of look like the picture. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really do pleats very much. Narrow hem the lower edge of the front overlay, stopping 3 inches from the edge opposite the pleats. Place the overlay right side up on top of the skirt front, which should be right side up. Match the center fronts and the notches. Baste across the top and down the sides until the skirt piece ends underneath. Without moving your skirt pieces, take your front bodice piece and pin it to the skirt right sides together, matching the center front and notches. Stitch it into place and press the seam downward. Take piece number 6 and narrow hem the top, side edge, and the bottom edge of it. They recommended folding in the corner twice and then folding in the sides double as well, but I quickly got irritated and just folded it like normal, and it turned out fine. At the bottom edge of the front overlay, there is a line marking from the pattern piece. You will fold up the edge towards the inside and baste until the end of the marking. Having both the front of the dress and the overlay right side up, pin the overlay to the front of the dress, matching the shoulder seam, the armhole, and the side. Base stitch the overlay. The overlay marking on the shoulder should match the other triangle marking on the dress. Onto the tie, piece 7, which you will narrow hem both long edges and the slanted edge. On the unhemmed edge of the tie, you will sew 2 long parallel stitches across it. Back to the dress. On the left side of it, right side on the screen, you will see a mark. My top and skirt pieces were 2 different sizes, so I have 2 dots. This is where the new dots should go, as to not confuse you if you didn't combine sizes and forget to grade like I did. Match the large dot on the tie to the large dot on the dress, and pull the gathering stitches so that the small dot on the tie meets the other small dot. Then base stitch across the gathers. Now looking at the back piece, number 8. Ease stitch across the shoulders on both back bodice pieces. Pin and sew the dots at the bottom of both the bodice back pieces, the same as before, pressing them towards the center. Taking pieces number 9, the skirt backs, sew the dots on both skirt pieces, making sure both are pressed towards the center. Match the center backs of the bodice to the skirt. Pin them right sides together as sew and stitch. Repeat with the other pieces on the back, and press your seams downward. Pin the back pieces to the front pieces right sides together at the shoulder seam. The E-stitch that was shown is supposed to help you gather the seam a little bit to get it to fit the front piece, but my fabric already has a little bit of stretch in it, so it wasn't necessary for me. Then stitch your fronts to the back at the side seam, and repeat this on the other side. Now let's talk about the zipper. We all know the traditional zipper foot with this little flipper foot and a square back. For this job, I'm using an invisible zipper foot, which will make the stitching completely unnoticeable. The underside of the foot has grooves on it, where the zipper teeth will flow through it as I'm sewing. The zipper will need to be pressed to get rid of this roll that the teeth are doing. You will take your iron and press from the back of the teeth, helping it to get as flat as possible without melting the teeth. It should look something like this. Place the zipper face down on the right side of the opening of the back of the dress. Pin it with the little plastic stopper 3/8 of an inch away from the top edge. You'll sew down to the large dot at the bottom, which I realized that I bought the wrong length zipper, but just so you know, a 22-inch zipper will still work. I'll just draw a dot here to help you with visuals. Now sew it in, and you'll see how the grooves go under the one side while I'm sewing this way. After that, match your zipper to the right side of the other side, remembering to keep the plastic stopper 3/8 of an inch from the top, and sew it the same way on the other side. As you can see, the foot has switched to the other grooves this time. Pin the fabric together under the zipper and stitch from the large dot to the bottom of the dress. You can also sew down the zipper tape to the seam to keep it down. Take all your facings and apply interfacing to the wrong side of them. Then pin and stitch the shoulder pieces to the neck facing, right sides together, matching your notches, pressing the seams open. Finish the outside edges of the facings however you choose, but I sewed it at 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and then I turned it in, pressing the folded edge. Then I stitched it close to the raw edge. I think it looks quite nice. Pin the facing to the right side of the neckline, right sides together, matching the shoulder seams and the large dots and opening at the front. Stitch around the whole inner edge, but at the front you will stitch to the large dot, down to the small dot, then up the other side to the other large dot and around the neck facing. Clip down into the vent, making sure not to cut into the stitching, then finish trimming the neckline. Clip your corners and understitch the facing and the seam allowance, then flip the facings to the inside and press. Looking at the zipper part of the facing, I didn't really get clear instructions for finishing it, so I'll come back to it later. Finally, the sleeve that you'll start by sewing 2 long ease stitches across the cap between the small dots. Much like this. Then you'll pin it together at the seam, right sides together, and stitch. Press your seam open. Stitch across the lower edge of the sleeve a 3/8 of an inch. I drew a line on the inside to help with a 5-inch hem, which I turned into a narrow hem. The 3/8 of an inch thread is used to help pull and get rid of any extra fullness in the hem you sew. Repeat this process on the other sleeve. I pulled the threads a little in the cap of the sleeves to gather it for a better fit. Making sure your garment is inside out, fit your sleeve into your armhole right side out. Match the large dot to the shoulder seam, the small dots, the notches, and most importantly, the seam to the side seam. Base, then stitch again 1/4 of an inch away from the previous stitching into the seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance and press the seam allowance towards the sleeve. Now let's talk finishings. The hem needed to be narrow hemmed like the rest of the dress, so I finished that, and that's where the 3/8 of an inch that you did not sew comes in to help make sure everything is hemmed in one cohesive hem. The facings were still raw, so I fixed it by folding it in and then hand stitched it to the tape of the zipper. I did mess up once, and it's super annoying because you can kind of see a thread from the outside, but I'm just going to ignore it and not obsess over it. I also took the time to tack down the rest of the top of the tape so it wouldn't stick out and look weird. Speaking of the top, I noticed that I didn't leave enough space for the hook at the top of the zipper, but it didn't really make much of a difference with staying up, so I just left it alone. And finally, I took some thread and a needle and tacked down the facings to the seam on the inside of the dress to keep it from flipping up while wearing. This dress fits so well. Like, given I did have to have someone help me like zip it, but it fit like a glove. Like, I've never in my life had a dress ever fit that well. And coming from somebody who's always been plus size, well, not as a child. As a child, I was just taller than everybody else, so I was automatically wearing older clothes than what I needed to. But yeah, I've never ever had a dress fit that well ever in my life. So I am quite impressed with this pattern. I say, if you're on the fence, like maybe you want to maybe make it, maybe you don't, I say it is 100% worth making this dress. I am thoroughly impressed at how beautiful it is. The only nitpicky thing that I had issues with that took me way a lot longer to do was narrow hemming. The overlay that goes across the chest, I narrow hemmed that wrong 3 times. My only other problem is I really wish I had someone to wear it. Like, COVID has really, well, as someone else would call it, the panini. But yeah, COVID really put a lot of drain on me and going outside. So for me to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go outside and go to this one party or whatever, like, they brought back swing dancing in my area, and I can't dance to save my life, but I would try just to be able to look good in this outfit. But I don't know, I'm a little nervous to be out and about, but I think just for the sake of showing this dress off, I might go out somewhere. Maybe. Who knows? I say this like I'm actually gonna go out, but I don't know. Anyways, but I say this dress is well worth the effort, and if you make it, I want to see what you do with it. I can't wait to see it in different like patterns or fabric. Like it's just too pretty to not be made. Not everybody needs to wear it. Like there's just so much I just rave about it. So, but yeah, and in this video we learned so many new things. Like this is my first time ever using an invisible zipper foot, and that was, I had to go look up a video, which I probably link it below because it might help a little bit, but that was my first time ever using an invisible zipper foot, and it was actually relatively easy, and I definitely like the way it looks better than trying to do it with like the regular zipper foot. It was just, I say if you don't have one, you should use one. But yeah, other than that, I hope you folks enjoyed this. If you are going to make this, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it. Leave a comment down below, say hey. I know a few of you said hey last time, and I'm so excited because I don't get to say hey to people often, so I'm just like, well, somebody say hey to me. So yeah, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'm also on Instagram, there's an R in Instagram, and I'm on Twitter, but I don't really tweet that much. I do have a Facebook page that I have more updates on what I'm doing, like random pictures, random updates, like kind of like a mysterious thing. You should just go check it out. Like I do a lot of more posting on there, and I feel like Instagram tends to be more official sometimes with updates, and I just feel like I don't want to flood your Instagram, but I'll definitely flood your Facebook, because what else you use your Facebook for? If you enjoyed this, please give me a like and subscribe if you're new, and please share if you wouldn't mind. I don't mind if my videos are in like groups, sewing groups or things like that. I think that's awesome. I'm here to help people who are new at sewing or who have questions, who don't know how to do something, learn, or to figure it out, because I'm also an amateur at sewing as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you folks next time. Bye.